In this video, I'm going to go over a couple of ways to apply color to your bubble letters and block letters. If you remember from the last video, the simplest way to create bubble letters and block letters is to start with just regular print, writing it out as you would normally, and then outlining it around each part of the letter. So just to start with an example, I'm going to write something out real quick right now. Don't forget to erase your pencil lines. All right, so the three materials I'll be using to apply color are crayons, markers, and color pencils. All right, I will start with the color pencils. Now, the colors that I chose, I'm kind of choosing colors in similar families here. So I have some blues, I have some purples, I have some yellows and reds, and I'll be using them to sort of put a couple of different colors into one letter to give it a little bit of depth. So let's say I start with W. Notice I'm not pressing too hard with a color pencil. You can always press harder later if you want. Now, in the last video I talked about adding a drop shadow to the left and bottom of each shape. If you do something similar on the inside of the shape, you can create a little bit of depth. So I'm going to add a little bit of this darker blue. Again, I'm doing it to the left side and bottom of each section. So you can always go back over it again with your first color too to sort of blend the color pencils together a little bit. All right, now I'll do the same thing with the other letters. Okay, so there you have it. So I've used two colors in each letter. You can always add more. Like if I wanted to, I could add a little bit of red on the inside of my yellow, orange O. But at least two colors together will give a sense of depth. All right, now for the next line, I'm gonna use crayons. I'm gonna use a very similar premise where I'm gonna start with a base color and then either press a little bit darker with the same color or use a slightly darker color. So if I were to start with a light green, let's say. I'll fill in the whole entire word, since this is a scripted letter, with one color. You can color up and down, left and right, and circular motions, however you feel comfortable. I'm going to take a darker color, darker green, and do the same thing I did before. The side and the bottom on the inside of each letter. All right. There you have it. Now, the last section, markers. Now, markers are different from the first two. You don't really blend that well with markers. Some markers do blend, but not all markers do. I'm going to be using this basic set of praying markers, but if you have something fancier, feel free to use them. If you have colors within the same family, like a lighter blue and a darker blue, feel free to use that, like these two here. I'm going to be using just these basic colors that you see before you, plus green, if I can find it. There it is. Great. So, let me start with the E. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to, again, use two colors in the same thing, but they're not going to blend like the other colors. So if I start with the yellow, Alright, so when I apply this color on the left and bottom like I did before, it's not going to blend like you see in the O up here. It's just going to be right on top. But I think that sharp color change still gives that illusion of depth. Adds a little bit more to your letter than it was before. So I'll do the same thing for the other letters too. So in this one, I'll use green and blue. I'll start with the green. Well, there you have it. This is just one way to apply color to anything, in this case lettering. One other thing I kind of want to go over though, before I finish up this video, is the idea of mixing different mediums together. So what would happen if I take these same markers and go back into my colored pencils, or my colored pencils into the markers or the crayons? It's something just to kind of experiment to see what sort of textures you like and what combinations you might like. Maybe you don't want to mix them at all, and that is absolutely fine. But if you want to try it out, I will play around on this sheet of paper to show you what some of these things might look like. Great, so there you have it, a couple of different ways to sort of mix up mediums together. And if you remember from our last lesson too, we went over how to just add a drop shadow to some of your letters as well. In that video, I did the left and the bottom. For this one, maybe I'll play around with what does it look like from the top and the right side. So I'll do that as a time-lapse video and sit back and enjoy. Well, there it is, boys and girls. Between our first lesson and how to create the letters themselves, and now this lesson on just some tips and techniques on how to apply color, I'm sure you're all well on your way to create some beautiful, beautiful lettering and illustrations. I cannot wait to see what you guys come up with. Please feel free to share with me any of the work that you produce. In our next video, I'm going to start going over some basic techniques to make these letters look even more three-dimensional. So stay tuned, and I'll see you then.